Hello and welcome to this video on graphing cosine functions. This is the second video on graphing cosine functions, and in this video we're going to take the parent function y equals cosine theta, and we are going to introduce the idea of an a value, which is amplitude. So amplitude, same as with sine functions, controls the maximum and minimum values of a trig function, sine and cosine, and it can be equated to an a value of other similar functions that causes stretch or compression. So if we have a value all of a sudden that is negative, we get the graph to flip or reflect across the x-axis. Okay, so for this first example, we're just identifying the amplitude. It says state the amplitude for the function y equals -3 cosine theta. Well, again, your amplitude is the a value. So if you have a function y equals a cosine theta, your a value in this case is -3. And remember, amplitude is always positive, so you take the absolute value of that, which is 3. So the amplitude for this function is 3. So here is a practice problem. State the amplitude for the function y equals 5 cosine theta. So you identify your a value, which happens to be 5, and that happens to be already positive. So that is your amplitude. So how does this affect a graph? Y equals negative cosine theta. Well, in this case, your a value is -1. So the absolute value of that would be +1. But again, remember the negative causes us to reflect or flip. So cosine theta is different than sine because it starts at a maximum. So in this case, our amplitude's 1. But in this case, since it's negative, right, I'm going to start at a minimum. I'm going to reflect. So I'm going to start at -1. And the end of my period will also end at this location, so 2 pi. And I want to split the graph into fourths to find my other critical points. So I'm going to have a critical point at these 3 locations. So I have a negative value. I'm going to go up to an intercept. And then I'm going to go up to a maximum, and then back down to an intercept, and then down to my minimum, to the end of my period. So here is y equals negative cosine theta. Okay, it's just cosine theta except flipped. So I would like you to practice. Here's the graph of y equals 3 cosine theta for 2 periods. You'll notice on your graph that you don't have y-axis values, so just go ahead and label them. You can label it however you want, but I mean a standard 1, 2, 3 should be pretty good. So go ahead, graph y equals 3 cosine theta for 2 periods. Please pause the video. Try this on your own. When you're done, start the video, find the solution, and then you can double check your work. Okay, so here is the solution. Hopefully you paused and graphed this by now. And this is what you should get. So double check a couple of things. One, your amplitude is 3, and notice that your maximum starts at 3. And every 2 pi, you have a maximum of 3. Then you should have your graph split into fourths, and you should be going down. So down to an intercept, a minimum, an intercept, a maximum. Okay, maximum, intercept, minimum, intercept, maximum, intercept, minimum, intercept, maximum. Okay, so you should notice that pattern. Okay, and again, please pause the video and try this one on your own. Watch out for that negative. What does that negative do? Okay, so please pause it and then play when you are ready to check your answers. All right, here is the graph y equals -2 cosine theta. Your amplitude is 2, right? The absolute value of -2, which is 2. So you should have a minimum value at -2 and a maximum value at 2. And since it's negative, you're going to start at a minimum. Okay, so you should get this double peak looking slope. Okay. All right, so again, the main idea when learning sine and cosine is comparing and contrasting the two graphs for the sine and cosine function. Again, I hope you notice that for the parent functions, their amplitude, max, and minimum values are both +1 and -1. They both have a period of 2 pi, right? And really, the only difference between the two is that a sine function starts at the origin, 0, 0, and cosine starts at a maximum value. So +1, if you have a negative amplitude, it would start at the minimum. But those are the main differences. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.